Hey everybody, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com here. We are back for KC Tool Haul 56. Previously, we took a look at these beautiful little things, the Knipex 1372-8, specifically designed for the American marketplace. If you missed it, it is in Tool Haul 55. Highly recommend that you check it out. Now, that said, at the end I teased you, I said we're going to have something else cool from Knipex either in the next one or 57, and then the opposite will be all Hazette. I thought it would be cruel to make you wait for the Knipex super fans, so we're going to go ahead and cover that here. But before we jump into that, we've got some other things to cover. Number one, this order and the next one both exceeded the $100 threshold, so we get our German Tool sticker pack. Of course, we get our bit of thanks right here. Philo number 2 is what they're currently shipping. Also important right here, I do not know the expiration date on this, unfortunately, but this is the flyer. It is not from Wera. Typically you have the Wera flyer, right? Quarterly deal from Wera. This time it's the seasonal. This is spring 2021, and what better way to celebrate spring than bundles of screwdrivers? I personally can't think of a better way. And essentially what we have, they've got the major brands here, and they've sort of paired them out. Now, you're going to see some like wide ranges in pricing when you look at these, but look at the number of items that you're getting. For example, with Ghidorah, you're literally getting 2 VDE drivers, right? With Hazette, you're getting like a ton, a crud ton of them. I can see why they would do that. Same with VHA, you know, because you're getting the precision stuff. That way different sets appeal to different people. It might be something, you know, like you need new VDE drivers. You're always VHA, and you think, oh, you know, I might try these. With the Hazette, the only thing that's unfortunate is, you know, VHA and Wera are very, very reasonably priced. Vit also is not terribly bad. Philo, most of their stuff reasonable. Very reasonable, in fact. But with Hazette, like, they're sort of like, yeah, you know, scary prices to most people, and that deters them from trying it. You get a really nice collection of drivers, but there's so many of them, the price is a little higher. So before you're being like, oh no, you know, I've got to get this to save money, look at what you're actually getting, and if it's something that fits your needs, take that into account. But essentially with VHA, you get some soft finish drivers with the Pico finish, right? You know, the brand new precision stuff. With Vit, you get their Torx drivers, which I've actually got the set and use it all the time. That, in my opinion, is probably their best handle. With Wera, you get the chisel drivers, which again, I use as my demo drivers. With Hazette, you get like a little bit of everything. A couple of striking caps, some standard. And then these Philo, they're not the ergonics, you know, like some of you might have been expecting to see. And if you're like, why are they red and black? Is that like the step right under them? Are they striking cap? What's the deal? Those are the M-Tech. Okay, those are pretty swanky little screwdrivers, and if you were ever looking for a set or a reason to purchase them, this is about as good a reason as I've been able to find. So coming around, you can kind of see what I mean. The Hazette set is $150, and most of you are like, nope, not touching that. Typical Hazette over price points, right? Well, look at what you're getting though, 21 drivers. So again, evaluate the set contents, and if it makes sense, or if you've always wanted to try it, it's actually a really good deal, 39% off. You're typically not going to see that on Tool of the Day, so it is a very, very good price. This VHA 11-piece set is stupid good, especially, you know, if you're kind of like starting from scratch, you know, or you need new stuff for work that's always beat up. You're getting, you know, kind of like a 5-piece set plus probably 6 precision drivers, if I'm thinking correct. $68, very, very reasonable. This is kind of a no-brainer on the chisel drivers if you don't have them. Again, not necessarily even, you know, like having them for the striking cap on the Phillips 2, which, you know, is a perk. Just having the slotted ones to beat the snot out of. Wera is one of the only companies with striking drivers. It's like, yeah, cool, you know, beat it up. That's what you're supposed to do. Typically, it's like, well, you know, you misuse this, and you're like, it's a striking cap. And then they're like, well, you know, you're just supposed to, you know, jostle it a little to get the bolt to come free from rust, you know. And they're like, oh no, you know, just you go to town with it. Hit it right through the side of a sheet of wood. So, plus it comes with the rack. If you're ever in the market for those, again, this is a pretty good time to jump now. What's heavily discounted here, the biggest percentage off, is Philo's M-Tech. This is really tempting to me, If I didn't already have the Phillips, I probably would have ordered this. Oh, good. We have a date down here. So April 1st to June 30th. Hopefully I get this video out before then, otherwise it's stupid, and we've wasted time, so maybe we'll have to go heavy on the KC Tool stuff. But 41% off on those, $100. It's 7 pieces. That's like $14 a driver, but keep in mind they're the M-Tech, which it's basically a seated magnet at the end that will keep the screw in place. Super good, you know, if you're doing anything with like components that you have to come down on, you know, and typical screws fall, you know, or you get jostled, you know, if it's just a standard magnetic bit type of thing. The torque set, again, just to prove it to you, I don't even have them all here. A couple of them are on a workbench, but this is the T40. They're on the bench, ready to go. Fantastic handles. Coming down, the Ghidorah Slim, that's really the selling point there, is that they're slim, and again, at $25, that's a great deal. The Ghidorah handles are very different than the others, like Philo, Wera, Viha, Vit, you know, they're all like super ergonomic based. This is sort of more of like a different take, where it's almost like if you're going to stab someone, this is what you would probably want to use. You know, it's got the finger slots. If you were ever wanting to try Ghidorah drivers, this is actually a pretty good buy too. Again, going by the percentages off, you're getting 41 off the M-Tech, 37 from Vit and Ghidorah, 39 off of Hazet, which again, I know that price is high, but think about what you're getting. And then the Wera, pretty reasonable. Same with Viha, which granted these two are typically, you know, super competitively priced. So April 1st to June 30th though. Hopefully I get this out in time to make this relevant for you. I will do my best. If you're like, man, why is he putting out KC tool hauls all the time? Well, it's probably to make sure you see that, because I was going to include that in the next one, and I'm not sure we're going to have it ready to go. So on that note, I guess we'll get started, and it makes sense to do this. What is that? Well, it's from Wera, since we were just talking about screwdrivers. It is their part number 073403, and sets you back $11.29. It is essentially a magnetizer and a demagnetizer. So the way theirs works, and it's kind of a unique design compared to what you typically see, and you're also not going through something, you know, like with the Klein or the Viha, you're just going against it, which some of you may prefer. But basically, to magnetize, you go over, and to demagnetize, you go the other way. Right? So it's going to work best if we just get it out of the packaging, so I'll attempt to do that for you. And, oh, that's super easy. I thought this is going to have to involve the ballast knife or something, right? So the way this works, number one, it looks pretty cool. You know, the black on the green, that's sort of like that. I kind of liked the Viha Seafoam. I gave it a hard time, but I really did think it was kind of cool. Just looked like something that's been in production and works and is awesome, and there's no need to change what's perfect, right? But right there where you see that tip, you're going to have the positive sign to magnetize, and then I guess you run it along the sides to demagnetize. So since we're talking Wera and we're bringing up chisel drivers, I'm going to go right here to this guy. Now, to make this interesting, we'll just throw this down. It's a Stahlwille clamp that I always have on the bench for some reason. So right now we're doing nothing. Everything around me is stainless. Well, this is an aluminum ground lug, so it's got a steel screw in it. So nothing's happening with either of these, right? That's not stainless. We'll just throw some random stuff down. So, wow, that was aggressive. We're just going to do what the instructions showed, and we're just going to make one pass to keep this quick, right? So yeah, as you can see, magnetic. It's definitely working. That's pretty heavy, and we didn't really properly magnetize it. And let's try again. Maybe, is that an aluminum screw? That may be our problem. That would explain a lot, wouldn't it? Well, let's get this guy over here. You can't really see it, but I know what's going on. Okay. It's a little gonna be too heavy. Man, there's a ton of stuff here on the bench, but it's like all stainless. Now, these aren't. Alright, so 832. Let's go to town with these. Throwing that down. Of course, that doesn't help any. But right there, I mean, you get the idea. It magnetized it. Now to demagnetize, we're going to come in and we would just, and realistically you want to do probably more of the shaft, but whatever. Nothing's happening. We're not picking anything up. So does it work? Yes. Is it cheap? $11, not too terribly bad. So you make the call there. Obviously it's going to look really good with their standard drivers, which most of mine are chisel. And then, you know, color scheme wise though, picture that. Well, why not, you know, just throw it down again. So nothing's happening. We're going to come in. In this case, that's like all we can do, you know, is get this magnetized. So perfect. If we were to seat the screw, which granted is slotted, fantastic. Everything is just going perfect as planned. Doesn't work. So you get the idea. It's a magnetizer. There's not much more to say. Maybe at some point we'll remake that video where we kind of tested a couple of them, and this time we'll include this guy. So gotta throw all this stuff back where it goes, and we'll set this off to the side. So it is a cool design though. I think that's sort of the selling point. Is one, it's going to be easy to find, super lightweight. It's got the Wera branding here, and again, it's just a different take. Maybe if you hate the ones you have to slide through. Case in point, I always keep this one right at the top of the bench. That's my go-to. I have the black one, but this is the one I always use. So the Klein is actually on a bag. It's sort of like the one with the built-in keychain anyway. So keep that in mind. We'll back this out, get this crud off of my work surface here, and set that back down. So up next, how do we follow up that beautifully executed portion of the video? How about with something I don't think you've ever seen on the channel before? This is something, it's actually just kind of hard to find, and it's hard to find one that's sort of quality. And when I say quality with these, I use that with a grain of salt because I don't expect much, but not leaking is important. This comes from Heyco. It's a relatively new product for them. It is part number 7810025. It's 25 milliliters. That might give you some clue. And before I go any further, I'll tell you, if you were unaware, timestamps and links. Click in the video description box. Scroll down. Not only do I timestamp things, but you're also going to have a link to KC Tool where you can pick up the items if you're interested. So there's the bag. What's the item? It's this. And this is literally all it is just an oil can. The thing that drew me to this, one, it was very inexpensive at $2.39. Two, it had a cap. And three, I was hoping since it was Heyco, it was not going to leak. Now, if you're thinking like, oh, idiot, you know, that's made in China, you could have gotten like 20 of those for $10 on Amazon. No, I researched this, okay? And America, you know, has lots of good plastics, but check this out. It's going to be really hard to see. You can see the 25 CCM, but look at that, made in Germany. So yes, this is actually made in Germany. I know that's a big selling point to many of you. Little things like having a cap and then having the cap tethered so you're not going to lose it, because let's be honest, people are going to lose that without the tether. Here this is. Now, what in the world did I buy this for? If you veteran viewers of the channel, you know I always have some story of why I bought something, so there must have been something that had ticked me off or I saw a need for to actually go in and spend $2.39 on this thing. And what it was, I actually don't have the can here like for the first time in an eternity, but it's over on another workbench. It was for this case going to be tested with the hose assembly lube, right? So like AN, PTFE stuff, you always want to oil the threads. The bottles have the flip top and they dump some, but they dump a lot. It's either like nothing's coming out and so you like give it a little squeeze, you know, and then just everything comes out. And I got tired of that, and so I'm going to pour some into here, and then this will be what I utilize. And again, flipping this off the top, which it looks like we may have to cut that, which that won't be a big deal, but I'll just be able to kind of fine tune it, and if it does start to splurge and everything's coming out the end, there's not a whole lot here to lose. So that's another perk. The other thing, and yes, multiple realities here. So I was going to guinea pig this at home with my hose assembly lube, and then if I like it, which I actually, this is just like 3 steps away, 1 second. All right, so these are ancient. Well, actually, this is air compressor oil. My apologies. I've got this stuff all over the place, but I've got air compressor oil, which, guess what? This is kind of a pain to pour from. The funnels also don't like to stay in there, but two, air tool oil. If this worked well for the hose assembly, I was going to buy a bunch of these, and they wouldn't be for me. I'd probably keep like one or two, but everything else I would be buying for work. And it's a deal. I feel like I'm the only person that oils air tools. You know, it might be because, you know, when you can do the purchasing, you're kind of like, oh, well, you know, if we would have just oiled that, it wouldn't be dead after a short life. It's amazing how long pneumatic stuff can go just running on the moisture and the lines, right? But if you just oil it, preferably daily, you can be going somewhere. So, do they make automatic oilers? Yes, they're a pain in the butt. And again, the bigger issue is people don't keep the oil filled. So, instead of me going through, I've decided long ago, dealing with that stuff, it's easier for me to just oil the tool than go through the oilers. So that's kind of what I've done when, you know, regulators and filters start to leak or go out or whatever. I typically don't even replace the oiler. I've also started going to the combo units because I finally found ones at Milton that don't suck, but that's another story. But, right here, this is something which, it seems innocent enough. It is actually made in Germany. They're cheap. I mean, this is $2.39 into my hand, you know, so I assume they're like dirt cheap overseas. But it does have the Heyco sticker, you know, if anyone cares. And they also, if you like these, or if you bring this one in, you're like, man, I just wish it was bigger. They've got lots of different sizes. Again, this was my guinea pig. I don't want to invest more than I need to. And I felt like this was the perfect size for what I was doing. Truth be told, for the air tool oil, I wouldn't want, you know, like something like this, or like what it comes in with the flip top, but I wouldn't mind something maybe like 2 to 4 times this capacity wise, although this end would be perfect for going down into the back end of an air tool. So $2.39, you really just can't go wrong with that, in my opinion. So I'm gonna set that on top of my vise over there, which, by the way, I cleaned and polished my vise pad and handle the other night. I got stuck because of a storm and I didn't have the camera out here, so, you know, do what you gotta do, right? Let's go ahead now and go to Knipex, right? So this is going to be part number 78, 71, 125. If you recall our lesson from last time with these, and I said you're probably used to seeing like 250 at the end, and that's 8. Why? This is 8 inches overall length. 125, that's not the length of the tool in inches, that's the length of the tool in millimeters, right? So if you know your metric system conversions from screwdrivers like I do, we would know that 100 millimeters is 4 inches. So 125, you do the math, you figure it out, right? So check it out. This is what it is. And I bought these for one sort of optimistic purpose, and they actually did work, but it was painful. I could tell I was ruining them, and they were super nice, and I didn't want to do that to them. So the good thing is I was fine having them for their backup plan. And what these are is these are electronic super nips. This pair, there's several different iterations of these. You can get them in multiple configurations: handle styles, head styles, jaws, optional accessories we'll talk about in a second. Set me back $34.09. Again, I'll have links to all this if you're interested in them. If this seems spendy to you or you don't like part of it, you can find some way cheaper than this. You can also spend a little bit more. But what I did is I got the additionally hardened jaws. And I know what most of you are thinking, like, what are you going to cut with these, man? You know, you just go in and use like small wires or LED stuff. You know, you seem to do a bunch of that crud. Well, yeah, but what I was doing is I was trying to get something with a tiny head profile and see if I could utilize it to cut single strands of stainless. I'll tell you right now, this will do it. I will also tell you that you feel terrible when you're doing it, because you can just envision every cut I make. It's like I just picture the blades dulling. And prematurely at that. This is the pair of tools when I was referencing in 55 about how the bigger the tool, the harder these handles seem, the multi-grip. This one is so absurdly comfortable, and I don't know if it's slightly different multi-grip style that they use for something this small. Like you can see right here, we've got this ribbing, and down here at the bottom, you typically don't see that, you know, like on a pliers wrench or even something like this, it's a little shorter. So I don't know if that's what the case is, but these are like really, really comfortable. They're not quite as soft, you know, as like a textured grip or like an NWS sci-fi grip or anything, but they feel really good in hand. The texture is there, but they're also softer. There's like more give it, and it's not just like a hard plastic. So I love that about them. The color scheme is fantastic as usual. Again, these are super nips. That is your capacities right there. And it will do that, but I had the backup plan that if this didn't work for that, and then when I got these and I liked them that well, and I'd also opted for this that we'll talk about in a second, I was like, you know what, I'm going to use these for electrical applications only. You know, I'll probably do cable ties from time to time because I'll have them in hand, but it's mainly going to be for, you know, 16 gauge wire and some smaller stuff. It would be good with PC stuff as well. But if you're like, what is that dorky looking thing on there? Is it a safety of some sort? It's actually a lead catcher. And so if I dig into this little jar here, let me just actually bring the whole thing out. What that's going to do, when we make a cut with this, typically, you know, you have stuff fly, right? With this, it's always like, this is a crapshoot. Sometimes with side cutters, you'll have this hold, okay? A lot of the times you don't. But with the lead catcher, it actually pins that in between the cutting surface and the jaw, and you don't have things fly, and you can control the chaos, essentially. So I have used these quite a bit, and obviously, you know, tried it on the stainless, and it will do like a single strand of it, but you feel terrible because these are super nice. They were so nice, again, I decided to give them a better life, and I've actually cut a whole lot of 16 gauge with them, so I'm very happy with these things, and I think for the price, they're actually not that bad. This is going to tie in with something else. Just this type of stuff I don't have, you know, like when I think of cutting stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, let's get the big ones, you know, we need to be able to cut through everything. And while that's great and it'll cut through little stuff and big stuff alike, there's a serious need for these smaller cutters, and I feel like a lot of people, they're underrepresented. So we've got these added to the arsenal, and they're only slightly prematurely dulled by me going after stainless braids. So more on that much later on. I think we're now to our final item, but don't you fret. I feel like this thing keeps turning off center for some reason. Must be the tripod getting old, or my head's crooked. I'm not sure which. But this is a big item. This alone would have gotten the German tool sticker pack. So it's from Stahlwille, and it is their part number 6573, and to be precise, it's going to end in 253. So this is something I've wanted for a really, really long time, and I'm gonna be a jerk about it and throw that down. So if you look at it, you can't see anything, and that's kind of what I intended, right? I can't really say enough about these. We'll hit on them in greater detail here in a second. But again, 65, 73, 5250, or if you go by this, the 250, they're technically 253 millimeters in length. Again, 250 would be 10 inches, so draw your own conclusions. The white is concealing what we have here. And if you notice this nice pristine Stahlwille bag, there's one defect, and that's down here. And that's not from Stahlwille, that's not from KC Tool, that's from me. And that's because I could not wait to use these, so I didn't. I've had quite a few little run-ins with them here, particularly like some big stuff where I legitimately do not have metric sizes to handle them. Now, when they're coming out, they're in the Stahlwille green. This is, again, what I consider the dipped textured handles. It's not like a channel lock PVC blue, you know, Richard Petty. It's textures to it. They're coming out, and you're seeing chrome, and you're like, oh, you know, you got like some Stahlwille Cobra type of a thing, didn't you? Ooh, wonder what that's like. Guess again, suckers. This is the Stahlwille PowerGRIP, and let me tell you, I love this thing. The downside to this is the cost. I'm going to be totally straight up and honest with you. Right now they are listed for $115.20, which again, when you see that price point, you're going to think like, geez, no wonder I buy Knipex, or Knipex is so good and it's, such a lower price point, or even Ghidorah, on sale, which happens more frequently. And they're all good. I mean, I don't have anything negative to say about them, and that's why I have them and use them. In fact, in tandem with this, installing trolleys on the gantry crane, right? With me, in metric sizes, like 19 millimeters where wrenches stop typically, I think I might have like a couple of 21s or 3s. I've got the giant Heyco that I bought, because it converted over to a clutch fan, which worked out beautifully. But past that, like, I don't have massive metric wrenches. If it was SAE stuff, I'm home free. But how do I go about grabbing, like a nut on a trolley when I need like, almost 50 millimeters or so capacity? That's where these come in. That's where this type of tool will pay its dividends to people. And I cannot tell you enough how much I love these things. Now, if you look right here, you've got made in Germany. You've got 06 there. You've got the track. We've got the part number, which again, 6573250. You get a quick look at the jaw profile here. Flip her around, we've got the Stahlwille nameplate, you've got the top side of the button, and again, PowerGRIP. That's what these are called. If you think, man, that handle's kind of funky and what's up with that hook, don't question it until you've used it, because I was like, oh, that's sort of not like Knipex, but I love it. And basically I have, each side of the trolley, there's a jam, there's a nut and a jam nut, and so I'm needing to use that, and then I have to control it from the other side. So I'm up there with like 3 pliers wrenches, right? And I literally had all 3 brands, and this one I felt the least like I was going to drop because of that hook. Also, I am a huge fan, again, I said this to be fair to myself. In this video, I talked about how much I liked the Knipex textured grip and preferred it over the cheap, like dipped version, right? I just, for whatever reason, I really like the textured grips. I know they get dirty and they're harder to clean. Personal preference, right? So the thing that's strange about this one is it's, in my opinion, probably the easiest to adjust out of every one that I own. That's a couple of 10s, some shorter ones, and the Ghidorah. It's very user intuitive. I don't want to go into like a direct comparison because we can make a standalone video on that. That'll keep this one shorter, but these are amazing. The profile, the thickness on them, it's very slim. The capacity, I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly, max capacity, which this is where I was on that trolley, it's about 50 millimeters. When these things were articulated into place, they would not move. They sat there, and I was like, okay, these are going to fall off of the nut and hit the floor, and I don't want it to happen. I just bought them and took them out of the package a second ago. Nope, they stayed. It defied all common sense physics that I know of, but something about it just works. And then again, the ability to come in and adjust so effortlessly. There's no like choke point or magic handle position or certain thing I've got to do. I just press the button and I go. Again, I don't want to get into a direct comparison in this video since it's just the tool haul. I will tell you, if you need another pliers wrench, if you have the funds, if you're a Stahlwille fan, if you're like, I've got like 6 of those, Knipex ones, or if it's a deal where these are on sale and they're roughly the same price as some of the other brands, try this one. Again, these aren't like sent out to me for free. Like, I pay the money to get these, and I love it. And that was sort of one of those things. I've told you many times on this channel, curiosity kills me. And I like the pliers wrench, and it's great, and I have no reason to ever think like, oh, well, that's junk, I need to get something else. It's a deal when I need another one, and this is out there, I have to stop and say, I wonder what the Stahlwille is like. And had to kill the card there for a second. It'll time me out at 30 minutes, so I know the length of the video, and we haven't done too bad considering what we've covered and all the ad lib, right? So These are just a joy to use. I haven't used them a ton, but I've used them on a couple of big projects. I've used them on a couple of smaller things since then because I like them so well. Really the only knock I can even give these at this point in time is I don't believe Stahlwille offers a soft jaw. If they offered a soft jaw that was removable and reusable, it might be perfect. That's really the one thing I can think of. And again, I realize, you know, you're not going to tear stuff up. I'm thinking of anodized fittings, which granted, you know, if this is like perfectly machined and doesn't have crud on it, we should be fine. I like to go that extra mile and just have the protection. So if we could get soft jaws, particularly in the Stahlwille green, that would be awesome. So, the downside to these really is just the price point. That's the only negative. And I think that's a deterrent. I think that's why you don't see people buying these all the time and making videos on them or saying, man, you got to try this. It's just the price point keeps people away from it. And good grief. This is something I just wish there was like a community pair, you know, of Stahlwille PowerGRIPs that could be sent around. And everyone would be like, hey, you know, these are pretty cool. And I think it would be a deal where people would buy them if you could try them type of a deal. So, you know, like if there's a KC tool in every town, you could walk in and be like, oh, I'm going to get the Knip, and you grab this and be like, whoa, you know. And then again, the price point would probably deter a lot of people and you'd wind up staying where you're at or with what you're familiar with. But if these ever are on tool of the day, and you know what you know how your views align with me by this point in time. We're like 50 something tool hauls in, right? So if I say I like something and you bring it in and you've hated it every time, don't take my word for it. But if you bring in what I say I like and you also like it, this is something that would be of great interest to you. Again, the price point is the issue, but if these are ever tool of the day, I don't care if it's like the 12-inch version, the ridiculously big ones. If you can get a good buy on these, get it. And I don't see how you could possibly be disappointed. Again, we'll sort of go into more of a direct comparison at a later date and time. I also would like to get a little more seat time with these, but the first couple of jobs I've used them on, I love them. Like I said, price and lack of soft jaw, and that's it. That's the only negatives I can come up with. Some of you, you know, like if you love this, you know, and you want the red and blue multi-grip, you know, or you prefer red, yeah, that's a knock too, but only aesthetic based. And I gotta say, just they look great in hand. They're amazing. That little hook, which seems like it would be annoying, I love that thing. And again, picture yourself, you know, like 7 feet in the sky on a ladder, and these are pretty dadgum cool. So I'll leave it at that. I'll quit dorking out over these. I feel like we went on a little too much about the knurled jaws on these in the last one. But, yeah, I think that is the tool haul. Let me double check, because again, I'm dividing this one up, and I want to have all the Hazette stuff in the next one for you. Spoiler alert, if you liked these, there might be something similar from Hazette. I said similar, not the exact thing, you know, because they may not make it, but similar. We'll just go with that. And I think we've covered everything. So we got the Stahlwille PowerGRIP, which again, I absolutely love them. We've got the Wera Demagnitzer, which people are going to critique that we didn't use correctly. And you know what? I'm aware of that. I just wanted a quick demo. We have also the Knipex Super Knips, which these are, I just, again, felt terrible about it. Now I've got the low battery light flashing, so that's what we brought in. I also covered the bouquet of flowers or screwdrivers for the spring promotion. It's good through June 30th. I will do my best to have this video up for you before June 30th. So hopefully that happens. If not, I apologize, and you know it was a good deal. If you bought any of those, let me know which ones caught your fancy and why. But before this thing times out on me, thanks so much for watching. If you've used any of this stuff, let me know your thoughts. How does this rank? Do you use the Super Knips? Do you like the lead catchers? Does this seem way softer to you than bigger Knipex tools? If so, do you prefer the soft or the hard? Have you used the PowerGRIP? How does it rate with other pliers wrenches? And lastly, what do you use to put, lube or air tool oil in? Because again, that's what I'll be doing here, and I'll see how I like it. Also, Alpha Gloves, 20% off with the discount code Lone Star. I make nothing off of that, just telling you in case you're interested. So with that said, timestamps and links down below. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Last but not least, and most importantly, I hope you have yourself a fantastic weekend. Maybe the video will help you out, brighten your day, give you something to look forward to, or something to aspire to pick up even though the price is high. I promise you those things are awesome. So with that said, I'll quit rambling. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you back here for more action from the shop.